see that this internet here is giving me some pain, but I'm okay now. So how do you survive the digital wave? I love the tagline. We're saying the wave comes, you have two choices. Either you sink or you swim. So that preparedness is certainly, you have to either you learn to swim or you have the right kind of life jackets to survive the wave. Let me start, introduce, I can see from the faces, I'm a stranger to most of you. No wonder, because I've been living in Canada for 48 years. And I left India, a young graduate from Indian Institute of Science in 1969. At the time, the computer technology was very ancient. You can compare it to a baby. There are no big computers. In India, we had 4 computers at the time. I remember traveling to Bombay, TIFR, to do our programming projects. It was very expensive for a poor student like me. The other computers, one in Calcutta, and there are 2 in Delhi. That was all. But from those days, I loved programming. Because every type of computer I could find, I had to use it. Whatever its language, I had to learn it. However, we can see that you can just program, but that doesn't mean you are really benefiting your business. So and we also found out early on that as a programmer, I was very bad. I was very optimistic. As soon as I wrote a piece of code, I thought it's done. But other people would find many, many bugs in it. So I was a bit humbled, saying no. Programmers, as long as there are a lot of programmers, there'll never be zero defect. So that's when Modi ji said zero defect, zero effect. Of course, in programming language, zero defect is very important. By the way, my name is Dan Mishra. I was born as Shraddhanand Mishra, but the 48 years of exile in Canada has morphed that name into Dan, which most people find it easy to call me by. And I used to be an electrical engineer. Never thought I'll be a computer scientist someday. But once I went to Canada, I saw that big IBM mainframe 350 or 360 sitting there. I was kind of in love with that thing. Going from a punch tape at TIFR to punched cards. It was a big progress. And since then, I have never looked back. And, you know, my first job, part-time job, was in the university to do topographic mapping from pictures taken by airplanes, parallax pictures. It was very interesting, and coding everything in assembler. So those are the kind of days I used to love. Unfortunately, as you get promoted into managerial jobs, then the honeymoon gets over. You have to manage programmers who are supposed to deliver things rather than you delivering it. And that's when you become frustrated, how difficult it is to deliver a project on time and within budget. And every manager here knows. And that has been the challenge and the bane, actually, of our systems world. You know, I've worked on all kinds of computers, the ancient ones that no longer exist, Data General, HP, Wang, DEC, Digital, Bendix, all these things. They no longer exist, they're gone. So, again, the thing is, how do you stop your frustrations by eliminating programming? that is again and again, it gave me sleepless nights. When I was a project manager or a director of department, how do I get my programmers to do zero defect programming? It was a thankless and hopeless dream, I would say. Anyway, after working in the private sector for 15 years, suddenly I was blessed with a government job. I'm working for a city government. And they had a Wang computer. And Dr. Wang, I don't know if any of you know that name, he was a visionary. He had first vision of developing coding-less system development. And that suddenly gave me some ideas. It's possible to develop complex, sophisticated, integrated systems without any coding. Now, what's that going to do with the Indian economy? Because that's the biggest export India has, is we send a lot of coders. But that dream dragged us on and on and on, and I hired a couple of nerds from the university, and we started working on a product, what we called, at that time, 26 years ago, Amanda, which is really application development and management with metadata automation. Interesting concept. We worked at it. It has taken us 26, 27 years to almost perfect it. It's not quite zero code yet, but it's about 95% zero code. Now, I'll tell you why. It's so important to create a revolution in delivering solutions, particularly in the government space. There are millions of problems to be solved in the government space at all three levels: local, state, and federal. And all the ancillary PSUs and departments, millions of solutions developed. So unless there's a revolution, it will take many, many, many years to reach that level of sophistication that our citizens want for quick, quality service from the governments. Believe it or not, this product is 100% made in India. It's called Amanda. But we never tried to sell it in India. We're selling it all over the world. 3 years ago, I said, why not? Modi ji is saying all about this digitization and all this. Let's try. It wasn't a success. Our first project we got, a state e-challan project. Now, we developed the most sophisticated, most well-integrated e-challan system in India. As a matter of fact, it's the only one that's fully integrated to all the back-end databases of Vahan, Sarthi, and all that, all automated. The policemen don't have to enter any data. But we lost 1 crore in a project of 2 crores. So that said, okay, maybe it's not as easy to do business in India as we thought, as a businessman. So we're raking up brains. In the same time, I got a call from a friend of mine in Nigeria. He used to work for me. He said, Dan, come on over here. The oil price has crashed from $100 barrel to $37, and the government is out of money. And all the states and agencies, they have no budget to even pay their salaries for their employees. I said, well, then how can they pay for systems development? And then I said, an idea came to me. He said, what if we do everything free? Free software, free hardware, free personnel. Yes, it will be some upfront capital investment, but if they agree to share a little bit of the revenue that we generate for them, they need the revenue to provide services to the citizens. It's a catch-22. Now, to need a system, they need to spend money, which they don't have. So what if we spend the money? We develop the system for them and share a little bit revenue. And that little bit, I mean literally a little bit, 1 to 4% of the additional revenue that we help them generate. So they have no risk. And in the last 13 months, believe it or not, state government after state government, they kept coming to us. We don't go to them. Now we have 10 states in the last 13 months have signed up with us, and 8 of them are already live. It takes on average 2 weeks for us to implement the system from nothing. And believe me, they're not cookie cutters. Each state has their own laws, their own idiosyncrasies and all that, but it takes us on average 8 weeks. So 8 of the 10 states that signed up are already live, and they generate now, in the last 13 months, 4 billion nairas more than they used to. That's roughly $110 million. Now, it's not billions of dollars. Thing is that none of them have spent a penny for these systems. And now we have not broken even yet. Next year we might. And the next year they're predicting it will go to 8 billion nairas, means double, because of the automation and all the compliance that we enforce through digitization. No longer the money collected goes to somebody's pocket. It goes to a bank directly. And the bank pays us our portion and pays the government their portion. All the governments are fantastically happy. Not only that, the federal government discovered it, and they invited to help them collect their VATs and other taxes and fees, and we're helping them. Some ministries like minerals, the licensing, enforcement, all this, we're helping them. And in every case, we keep a target of 8 weeks to develop the system. If it goes beyond 8 weeks, means we overlooked something. It has happened once, but we corrected it. So that is the revolution I think India also needs. We are a very low-key company, like Canada. Nobody hears much about Canada. They're not in any conflict. They just provide peaceful service to the world. And now the next level is coming up. Now some of the governors are saying, hey, we need big money to build our infrastructures. Hundreds of millions of dollars. We promise you that we'll quarantine 25 to 33% of the revenue that you guys help us generate towards servicing the debt needed to build our infrastructure. So we set up an investment bank in Dubai called ICAD Investments. I'm the chairman of that. And funds are coming in from various sources. And we're helping them generate the revenue. Part of the revenue now goes to service the debt. So they don't have to go to World Bank or IMF and compromise their sovereignty, which they have to. Anybody who has dealt with World Bank or IMF knows you have to sacrifice a lot of your sovereignty. And so they are very happy. Investors are happy because the money is guaranteed. So that's the model. From a small, what we call government process automation platform, which is what we call near zero code, and there is no risk to us because we develop systems so quickly, there is no fiduciary risk to us. And it is self-financing. And I hope that is the future model of creating a revolution in the public sector anyway, where they have to always depend on the budget, next budget by the finance minister to know how much money they're going to get to do something. No, you generate your own money. West Bengal is a good example. You don't need money. And so the dream that we started as zero code 30 years ago, actually in my case it was 45 years ago when I used to be a programmer. I hated myself for having so many bugs. And now we are nearing that level of zero defect because, just like a robot builds something, guaranteed to have zero defect. However, the same robot cannot be used in every industry. You have to have separate special robots. So the platform that we developed is geared and designed for the public sector. Because all public sectors provide a service to the citizens. They have that common theme. So our data model, the base data model, is fixed. However, the customers can extend the data model at their will to any level they want to meet their particular idiosyncrasies. They can build their own workflows, they can do their own business rules, their own reports and UI, everything. They're all self-generated. The UI is self-generated. You change your data model, system automatically changes the UI. You don't have to code. Some reports automatically gets redone to reflect the new data. Mobile automatically gets reprogrammed by the platform. You don't have to change the mobile. So this whole ecosystem of automation without coding, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, is a reality. Come and we'll show you how it's done in Nigeria. You can talk to all the governments there and how in less than 8 weeks they get their systems done and they start collecting their fees and revenues and compliance. So that is humbly I present to you, and my time is up. And if there are any questions, I'll be available. We can talk. Thank you.